Alright, so given the really super fun debacle I had this morning, because I didn't realize I hadn't pressed the button to face the camera before, I thought I'd give myself a chance to try this again in a way that's not quite so huge, like come follow me. So anyways, I wanted to get a little bit of a workout in right now. It's going to be a little bit different than the initial set I was going to do this morning because it's going to be involving implements that you may or may not have. I'm going to be starting it out with an exercise that you heard me talk about called high knees. So it's basically going to be just running in place, keeping the knees up nice and lifted. I'm going to do that for about maybe like 30-45 seconds. I'm going to follow that up with some rows using the old handy dandy TRX straps. If you haven't already gotten one of these for your home workouts, I highly recommend it. Really good stuff. Front squats, I got a couple, went out to my storage unit and picked up my dumbbells. So I got a couple of 25-pound dumbbells I'll be doing some squats and stuff with. I'm going to be doing a lat pullover with my set of body elastic bands, so you'll see that as well. An exercise called scaption, working really through the shoulder blade area, getting a whole lot of movement through the shoulder girdle, and finishing out with a set of push-ups. So as I go here, I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit about the exercise as I'm doing it, and get through at least one set, probably two, because I am treating this as my own workout. So I'm going to play a little bit of music. Hopefully you can hear me over it. I'm not going to try to belabor this too much. So here we go. Starting out with a 30-second high knee. Here we go. You may notice I'm actually doing this barefoot because I forgot to put shoes on. Don't really care. The only thing that makes me happy right now is the fact that I can actually breathe and that my cold is mostly gone. So for a high knee, you're really just working to keep the knees up to hip height, get the arms moving as well. Otherwise, it starts to look like river dancing. You know, as much as I love St. Patty's Day, it's not necessarily what we're going for. And we're almost done. And that's the 30-second high knee. So enough to get your heart rate up nice and high. Second exercise up here is a body row using the old TRX. So I have this draped over my bedroom door. So I'm just going to kind of walk it in. You can walk it in as far or as not far as you'd like, bending the knees and stepping back a little bit from the anchor makes it easier. I'm going to walk it all the way in, put my feet against the door. As you're doing this, you want to make sure you keep your chin lifted, core drawn in super tight. Make sure your hips are back a little bit because your hips will want to lead the charge. You want to try and make sure that your shoulders and biceps and scapular area are doing the job there. I'm going to shoot for about 12 reps. I'm not sure if that was it, but hey, stop right here. Exercise number 3, I'm going to do a front squat. With squats, you want to make sure your feet are about hip width apart. Well, maybe a little bit wide on hip width apart. Toes pointing pretty much straight forward. You want to make sure you want to keep your trunk lifted and that you're sitting back into your hips. And when you come up, really engage the glutes, engage the quads. Keep that core nice and tight and drawn in. You can do this with body weight. You do not have to use weight. I got a couple of 25s here. So again, posture's up. Really make sure your core is engaged if you're using weight. It's very easy to let your form go out. When you're going down, you're squatting, you want your knee to go right over top of the middle toe. Again, posture nice and lifted. You're sitting back into the squat, tightening your butt on the way up. Really make sure you're getting that glute action. Who doesn't like a little glute action? This is a very straightforward body squat. All right, front squat. I'm gonna give you 2 more reps. Try and total it out. Roughly 12. Keeping things kind of the higher repetition side of things because it's circuit training. Bands, lat pullovers. So, got my little Body Elastics brand set. What I like about these is that they have a little carabiner on them and you can stack a whole bunch of bands onto the same handle. These are actually meant for ankle weights, but I'm going to be using one of the regular handles for one of the other exercises. So again, it's a lat pullover. You're going to sit back into the hips. Make sure your back is flat, that you're not curved. Really flatten things out. Nice long neck, shoulders stay down. Core stays engaged, and you want to make sure that you're not using such a heavy band that you can't do the movement. You want to bring the handles all the way down to your hips. Keep the elbows relatively straight. And try not to let your body become involved with the movement. You really want to tighten things up and isolate. You kind of want to look down straight at the floor, almost to the point where your trunk is flat, as opposed to being upright. Sit down into it, drop your chin, look a little forward, bring your hands right down to the sides of your hips. Maybe 2 more reps. And that's getting right up into those muscles, right up in there. All right, next one up is a scaption. It's called scaption because it involves the scapular region of the body. Great for shoulder mobility. Great to get your shoulder all warmed up. If you're including this as part of your warm-up, it's a good part of the routine if you're doing upper body to get all the rotator cuff working properly. Starting from the belt buckle, you want to take the band slightly out in front of the body on an angle, turning that thumb back and finishing in basically half of a Y shape. So again, belt buckle out in front of the body, and then finish up. And again, make sure your thumb is pointing away behind you. You want to make sure as you're doing the movement that the shoulder blade is moving down and back. So you're getting all that activation down here of pulling that shoulder blade back and down, and trying to finish with the elbow slightly behind the ear without lifting up or leaning back. So I'm going to give you about 8 reps. It's kind of a heavier band than I anticipated. One of my other bands decided to snap today, so that's cool. Always get bands, by the way, that have some kind of fail-safe for if they snap, you don't get a welt of some kind. That happened to me once, and thankfully it didn't result in too much of an injury. But some of these bands have a piece of string sort of put into the core of them, that if they do snap, the string catches the rubber from snapping back at you, so just know that. Body Elastics is one of those really good ones that does that. Posture is up, core is tight. Make sure your rib drawn right in so you're not leaning back again into the movement. Belt buckle to a Y, and focusing on keeping this tight. And again, this is a much heavier band than I had initially planned for. So I'm going to step forward a little, take a little bit of the tension off. Maybe one more. And then I'm going to switch. Now, in regards to how you're standing, you can face the anchor, which is straight down, or you can slightly angle away, one direction or the other. That will change where in the movement the most tension is being given. So if you're facing it directly on, it's going to have a tendency to be a little bit more consistently even through the rep. Now, given this is a band, so the more you stretch it, the tighter the resistance, and the more work you do toward the end of the motion because it's stretched harder. So it's not just gravity-based stuff. So anyway, posture's up, face the anchor point slightly. Try to keep the ribs in, that's the hardest part. And also make sure you're not rotating with it. You're keeping your body nice and stable through the movement. Tall posture, long neck. I really monitor that for myself because I want to go like this. Pull it in. And last one. Damn. I'm just going to finish these off with some straight up push-ups. For push-ups, hands a little bit wider than shoulder width. Make sure your face is past your hands the whole time. Sometimes push-ups end up way out here. Make sure your hands are directly underneath your shoulder joint as you're down on the floor, and that you're trying to sort of bring your hands together as if you're trying to slide them together on the floor. They're not gonna move, but you wanna create that tension to get your chest to activate right away. So when you're down on the floor, make sure you're doing that, squeezing the floor all the way down, all the way up. I'm gonna give you about 12 reps on this. Make sure your core is nice and tight, your belly button is drawn into your ribs, your glutes are engaged, your quads are engaged. You're not allowing your head to fall as you go down to the floor. Pick a spot slightly ahead of your body on the floor to focus your eyes on so that you don't end up dropping or craning your neck and head. And that's the set. So for push-ups, you can always make things a little easier on yourself by dropping to the knees. Just make sure your hips stay down so your butt's not up in the air for your knee push-up. You can also use your bed or a sofa. That's a great way to give yourself a little less gravity to work against for your push-up. So we're actually back to the top of the set. This is high knees. It's amazing. I'm doing this recording on my new phone and using an old phone to time myself, which is kind of cool. I never thought I would actually use these old phones anymore, but hey, here we are. All right, so we got a 30-second high knee. Bring the heart rate back up. I'm gonna get some water first because, yeah. You know when you think you're over a cold and then you do something and it's like, oh shit, it's still there. There it is. It's not Corona, don't get it twisted. All right, high knee, 30 seconds, here we go. Again, you don't want this to look like river dance, so make sure your arms are moving. Those of you who are old enough watching, you'll understand what river dance is. If you don't, Google it, it's fabulous. About 15 seconds left. Try to keep the tempo up, decently bright pace, so you're not really super slow about it, but that you're keeping your heart rate lifted. Again, the movement's up, up, up. And that's that. We're gonna go into a body row again. Again, you can make this as hard or as easy as you want. Walking toward the anchor point, harder. Walking away from the anchor point, easier. Okay? By the way, if you want to know who the DJ is, it's a DJ I've never heard of mixing a fabulous live set named Kydo, K-Y-D-O. Look him up on the SoundCloud. As I go through these exercise sets, you're going to see me and hear me using mostly electronic music because that's what I love. I also like DJ sets compared to Spotify lists. With electronic music, Spotify lists, there's no continuity to it, so I like to get some DJs fully realized idea of what music sounds like put together. Front squats are next. Again, you can do this with or without weight. You can do it front loaded, or you can do it to the sides, suitcase style, it's up to you. It's a little more challenging, which is a little bit more core activity. Again, sitting back into the heels, feet about hip width apart, toes pointing relatively straight, knee right over top that middle toe, so make sure you're not buckling one way or the other. Keeps them in good alignment. Pushing through the heel, tightening the glute on the way up, squeeze your bum. All right. Next up, lat pullovers. By the way, as you're doing these sets, take moments to breathe. It's good. You do want your heart to sort of go up and down intervallically. You don't want to stay at a 10 the whole time. It's not maintainable. Your form will start to suffer. And in the end, you won't end up getting what you're really looking to get out of the workout. So take your time, take breaks when you need, listen to your heart rate, make sure you're allowing yourself moments to breathe, grab some water if you need, because I needed one just now, so there you go. All right, lat pullovers. Shoulders down and back. Nice long spine, sit back into your hips, stick your butt way out, flatten the back. And again, closer to the anchor point, easier on this one. Farther away from the anchor point, harder, okay? Keep your core tight and consistent all the way through the movement. You don't want to add a crunch to it and throw your body weight into it. You want to really focus just below the armpit into the lat area. And shoulders stay down. Don't let them start to shrug up. Keep them pressed down and away from your earlobes. All right. Band scaption. Again, belt buckle to Y shape. Now if you have a dumbbell, you can use 2 dumbbells for this as well. Just know that you're working against gravity, not a band. For anything overhead, I want to be aware that you're not bending back into the movement. That goes for a press, that goes for the scaption, that goes for front raises, side raises. There will be a tendency to want to lean back into it. Keep this drawn in, rib cage tight, and everything engaged, so that you're not sort of compensating for a lack of weakness. Or sorry, lack of strength. If you can't do it without leaning back, it's time to adjust and go down a little bit on your weight and resistance. Never, ever, ever sacrifice form and technique for more weight, or more reps for that matter. And posture's tall, tighten this up. Take the elbow back behind the ear. Try to let the rib cage expand through the movement. And also try not to rotate the body in the direction you're going. It helps also to get the lower part of the body engaged with the movement. I'll give you one more. Really gets all that posterior stuff. It's really nice. Good for structure for anything upper body. And draw that in. Get tall, chin back. Feel free to make comments about my silly faces as I do this. Everybody's got the workout face, you know? For me, it's usually a curled lip. It's really cute. Stop there with it. Push-ups. Again, tension between the hands, squeeze the floor. Get that chest squeeze all the way down, all the way up. Hands are a bit wider than hip width, shoulder width. Face is always past your hands. You don't want to be pushing up right into your nose. Keep your chin lifted a bit. Again, tension on the floor helps keep your chest active all the way through the movement and take a little bit of the work out of your shoulders, which is desirable for a chest exercise. Get a lot of people that say, oh, I feel it in my shoulder. 2 things, either your shoulder's tight and needs to be rolled out and stretched, or the tracking and technique is off, and you're using too much of the shoulder work to compensate for a lack of chest strength. So there's your circuit. I think that was, gosh, how long am I going here? I don't even know, but had you for a little bit, 2 rounds. I'm already pretty winded. I guess that was probably like 15, 20 minutes of actual work, max. Of course, with a bunch of my exposition in between. But, you know, these home workouts don't have to be a lot. They don't have to be an hour long or an hour and 10 or whatever you normally do. You can keep it more confined to 20 to 45 minutes. You don't have to belabor it, but this will give you something to help out mental health at home throughout this entire process of getting through this period of quarantine. I can't remember that word, quarantine. As you're going through this, keep yourself moving. Keep yourself stretched, active. Go on walks if you can. If your city allows it, if you're healthy enough to. Take care of yourselves, wear a mask, vitamins, probiotics, fish oil, good rest, lots of water, okay? I can't stress these things enough. A good clean diet, nothing processed, no sugar, okay? Stay away from soda, alcohol, obviously. But be really judicious with how you're treating your body in this period. Because as a country, we gotta get through this shit. Much love to you all. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll join me tomorrow morning at 7:30 for something similar. Hopefully a little more well-rounded than this time. Have a good one. Stay healthy.